And I want to give a shout out to my mom because there were many times when he was going through his addiction, and I used to tell her like, "Yo, let's just go, let's just go." I'm a kid. I don't really know anything. I just know that I don't like feeling the way I feel when I'm around the different situations. Hey, 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 family! We are back with another episode of the Wealth is a Journey podcast. This is episode number 7. Man, this has been a great journey. Very excited because it just shows me that something that I didn't think that I could do, I'm doing it. I'm actively doing it and getting better every time. The lighting, the the conversations, the overall podcast is just getting better and better, and I'm feeling much more comfortable every time. As you can see, I'm smiling um, because this episode is very special to me because I'm going to be talking about somebody who is very special to me. My dad, Gerald Mills Sr., the man. Uh, a lot of you don't know my dad, who he was anyway. And I say who he was because he passed away in 2018. He passed away from diabetes. Um, and it hurt a lot of us when he passed away, and not just the fact that he passed away, but how he passed away. Before I get into that, I just like to give him a major shout out because a lot of you don't know, but he was not necessarily my biological dad, but he took care of me like I was his own since I think I was like 5 years old. Him and my mom got married. So shout out to him, and not just him, but shout out to all the stepdads or the dads that are not necessarily biologically your dad, but shout out to you for taking care of somebody who is not necessarily your biological kid. So shout out to you. I know a lot of my friends are taking care of or have taken care of kids that are not their own, and that's a major deal for you to be able to do that. So shout out to you. But my dad specifically, again, I say he was the man because he went to Cheney University, the greatest HBCU in the world. I went there as well. See you, stand up, let's go. Um, Went to Cheney University. He actually won a national championship with, I think it was John Cheney, who was his coach at the time. And they won a national championship. Him and my mom met later on down the line. They ended up getting married. When him and my mom were getting closer, I was kind of rebellious. Like, it was cool when they were just talking, but then when they got married, I was like, you know. But I want to go back, and I told you guys that he died from diabetes. He died from diabetes because although he was a great man, he suffered from alcohol addiction at one point in time of his life, which caused him to pass away before, in my opinion, before his time. I remember when I was 14 years old, him going to the doctor, and he was having some issues with his feet and his hands, and he said he was having some tingling issues. And then he told me that his doctor told him, like, hey, if you don't stop drinking, then you're going to die. So I remember vividly that he just stopped drinking. A lot of the weekends and the different things that he was, going out, hanging out, and things like that, he stopped doing because he valued his life a lot more than before the doctor gave him his prognosis. And I remember that a lot of things changed. He was a lot nicer. He took care of my mom a lot better, which turned our relationship around once I saw those things happening. But I mentioned before that I believe that he left prematurely. And I mentioned in one episode before that I believe that we feel like the things that we're doing, we're going to be doing forever. Meaning that you go out, you hang out with your friends, you party, um, the weekend's over, you go to work, you do the things on the weekend again, you hang out, and it becomes a pattern of you constantly overindulging, I'll say. And for his situation, it was alcohol, um, and that pattern ended up overtaking him, where he wasn't necessarily in control all the time, if that makes sense. And that's not something that he necessarily, sought out to do, but that's just something that ended up happening to him as a result of the pattern that was happening. And it didn't necessarily like dawn on me what was happening, because I fell into that same pattern when I went away to school. Um, I had mentioned it before, partying and drinking and doing the things. But when it really hit me that, yo, you can lose your life, when he got sick, and he really got sick. Um, I kind of slowed down on those things, but it really hit home for me when he had to get a kidney transplant, and then he had to get on dialysis. And anybody who's been through diabetes or knows somebody who's been on dialysis, it sucks. Like, you're there 3 days a week or more. You're sitting in a chair. You can't move for hours and hours and hours on end, and it crushed me, because I used to come from work, and I used to go sit with him for a little while when he was going through dialysis, and just sit there and watch him go through that was challenging for me. But what it showed me was, I knew that that's not necessarily what I wanted for my life. So I knew that I had to do different things, and I didn't know exactly how that was going to happen, or what to do. But once I made the determination that I wanted something different, and then also seeing him going through these things, which killed me, made me think to myself, like, if I'm seeing my dad, who was my hero, go through these things, I don't want to put my son through that. So why don't I make different choices before I get to the point where he was? And so after, like, a couple years passed by, or actually about a year or so passed by, and then my dad ended up passing away again. It was back in 2018, and he taught me so many different lessons along the way. When he was, going through his addiction, when he was coming out of his addiction, what I didn't mention, he ended up giving his life to God, and he was an awesome man of God. He was a minister, and he did all the great things for the church. He did a lot of great things for me as an example of what God can do to turn your life around once you uh, submit to his will. And it showed me a lot of different things. But the one that hit home the most was, health is very, very important. You only get one life. And I think, again, we think that we're going to be doing these things, the things that we're doing, hanging out, partying, and doing the things that are cool. But when it becomes a pattern, it could be detrimental. Like, I grew up in the crack era, and no crackhead sets out to be a crackhead. Like, you start out one thing and becomes a pattern, and then, all right, well, let me try this, and then it could take you down a road to bad habits, if that makes sense. He ended up passing away in 2018, and I knew I had to make some changes in my life, because at that point in time, my issue wasn't necessarily alcohol, but it was food. And I turn my situation around as far as finances, and I'm doing better financially, but at the same time, I'm eating a lot of things because I have more money to buy the things that I want to eat. I was maybe 265 pounds at the time, eating, doing the things, and I was out of shape. But at the same time, I knew that I didn't want my son visiting me in nursing homes and not being able to take care of myself, the things that I saw my dad go through, which again, it crushed me. And I wanted to make sure that I made a change for the better so my son wouldn't have to, do those things, visit me in nursing homes. And it could happen. And I understand that, but I'm not going to contribute to me ending up there, if that makes sense. God answered my prayer, and I ended up talking to different friends. And I thank God for the friends that I have. um, I started talking to a friend of mine, Nancy Taylor, and she was going through, doing different dieting and different things of that nature. And she told me about the keto diet that she was doing, and she told me how great it was and whatever the case may be. So, long story short, I ended up doing that, and it set me on a path to start watching the things that I was consuming, whether it was alcohol, whether it was sugary things, whether it was overindulging in, love Doritos. I was a big Dorito fan. Things of that nature, the things that I was eating, and it helped me uh, lose a lot of weight. Contrary to what some people may think, I didn't go to the DR and I didn't get my body done. I did go to the DR, but I didn't get my body done. That's an ongoing joke. But anyway, so I did end up losing weight, but again, it put me on a path, and then it made me think to myself, okay, well, if I'm doing better financially, then I need to be able to stick around and enjoy the fruits of my labor, enjoy my son, enjoy my wife, the money that I'm going to make, down the road. Um, and I think again that one of the things that my dad taught me was that life is like an onion. He used to say that to me all the time. Like, you peel back one layer, you get that layer knocked out, you figure that part out, and then there's another layer, and then there's another layer, and then there's another layer. And I'm constantly paying attention to what's the next layer. And escaping poverty was the one layer, and then um, the other layer was I need to be able to stick around to be able to enjoy the fruits of my labor, the fruits of my wife's labor, and enjoy my son and not have him see me in that state. And again, that wasn't his plan, obviously, but that's what it was, and that was a huge lesson to me. So when I talk to friends and I talk to different family members about wealth building and things of that nature, I talk about um, hey, exercise, or hey, this is what I'm doing. Maybe you might want to try it because it worked for me. And I struggled with weight all my life. I did. But once I locked on to that one thing, then it helped me see I have more that I need to peel back. I have more layers that I need to peel back, you know? And like I said, my dad taught me many valuable lessons, but the one that he taught me the biggest lesson was about health. You only get one life, and it's very important that you take care of yourself. Not only for you, but for your kids. I'm sure we all know somebody who left prematurely. I'm sure we do. Whether it was self inflicted or maybe they were doing something that they shouldn't have done, and they ended up in a situation where they lost their lives prematurely. And think about how that made you feel as that family member, or as the spouse, or out as the um, friend. But think about how that will make your kid feel if you're doing something and then you end up leaving prematurely. So I'm very, very sensitive, um, just for kids specifically, because I remember growing up, I remember how certain things happened, and I'm very, very sensitive to that to make sure that my son doesn't have to endure some of the things that I had to go through. And if you need any help, if you need any assistance, anything like that, it's okay. Just get the help that you need. A lot of people don't know where to start. If you are having an issue with, say, an addiction, um, or trying to lose weight, we have so many different resources, with different friends, um, different family members who may have overcome a challenge that you're currently trying to overcome. What I will tell you is it will take a willingness to seek the help that you need to get over the thing that you're trying to overcome. And it doesn't necessarily have to be health, but this specific episode is about health, because health is very important. Again, you only get one life, but you need to be able to seek the help that you need to get the answers that you need to overcome the thing that you're trying to overcome. And we're all struggling with something. We're all trying to overcome something. It could be mentally. If it is, it's okay to see somebody. Like, I had a therapist before. I talked to somebody. I was going through different things during the pandemic, and I got the help that I needed, and that's okay. Um, I was struggling with battling with my weight for years, like I said. And as soon as I made the decision that I wanted things to change, I put the steps in place to fight through the challenges that I faced, 39 years of trying to, battle with weight loss, and I finally overcame it. I'm here to tell you that it can be done. Overcoming different things, overcoming obstacles, overcoming challenges, whatever your challenge is, you can overcome it, but it will take a willingness, and it will take a why, if that makes sense. My why is being able to um, see my kid grow up. My why is being with my wife for as long as I can, as far as on this earth, enjoying our lives together. My why is being able to be financially free. So once you lock on to what your why is, why you're doing the thing that you're doing, or why you're trying to fight through the thing that you're trying to fight through, it makes it a lot easier to go through the thing. And um, again, losing my dad, to me, was prematurely. Um, Although I learned so much from him, whether he was, teaching me something different, or just watching him go through life. Um, I just want to make sure that I'm here for as long as possible to be able to provide my son with all the information, the knowledge, the wisdom, and different things that I picked up along the way, so I can be a resource for him. And then also, at the same time, I just want to enjoy life, right? Like we all want to do, but we have to put different things in place, different um, guardrails in place, so we're not veering too far left. And I think that that's one thing that happened to my dad. And I'm just glad that he was there as an example I mean, although I didn't, like the result of it, but at the end of the day, he was an example for me. And um, I'm just happy that we got to spend the time and share the time together that we did for as long as we did, because it was special to me. And I want to give a shout out to my mom, because there were many times when, he was going through his his addiction, and I used to tell him, like, "Yo, let's just go, let's just go." I'm a kid. I don't really know anything. I just know that I don't like feeling the way I feel when I'm around different situations. And shout out to her for sticking it out and being a woman who fought through, because if she had left early, then I wouldn't have been able to see God work in his life and work in all of our lives as a result of his obedience to submit to whatever God's plan was for his life. So shout out to you, Barb, for sticking through and sticking it out, because it was definitely greater later. And that's one of the things he said, and I said in the podcast episode before. But shout out to you. Who knows whose life you'll change as a result of the changes that you make? So the changes that you make are a bigger deal than what you may think. Because I made the change, other people are asking me, hey, how did you do what you did? So I'm able to tell them, hey, I did this. If you want to lose weight, try this. Hey, if you want to get out of debt, hey, try this. Hey, if you want to buy rental property, hey, do this. This is what I did. So what I'm learning, the older I get, the more I'm seeing that the things that I go through, the things that I'm doing are not necessarily for me, but it's a testimony for somebody else to help them get through whatever they're trying to get through at the time. So the whole episode, we talked about health. Very, very important to me. Hopefully you understand why now. If you don't know where to start, that's okay. We have a solution for you. Entrepreneurship Highlight coming to you, none other than my wife. This is her third annual, free to the community. It's very important. It's free to the community. It is the third annual health fair. It's June 24th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Doc Levinson Park here in Middletown, Delaware. Hopefully you guys can come out. Again, it's free to the community. There's going to be food. There's going to be vendors. There's going to be workout sessions. I'm going to be front and center in the workout sessions. Come holla at me. Now we're going to have a really good time. This is the third annual. The last two were very, very good. It gets better and better every year. Again, free to the community. So hopefully you guys can make it out. The only thing we ask you is that you register. The only reason we ask you to register is so we know how much food to have, how many snacks to have, how many drinks to have. So we need to plan accordingly. So go on her site, which I will list below, and register. That's all we ask you. It's free to the community. Tap it. This is episode number 7. Episode 7. That's a big deal. Before you leave, make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Up to this point, we are at 69 subscribers. That's huge. So hopefully you found value. If you did find value in any of these episodes, hopefully all the episodes, make sure that you share it. It helps support the channel and helps get the message out there to more people who need it. Thank you.